Alright, now that you've seen how to construct a dragon, I'm just going to show how to pose dragons and maybe do some variations. So whenever I think about posing, be it dragons or humans or whatever, I want to first think about what is the figure doing, what's their posture, and then try and simplify that into a gesture. So let's say I have a dragon that's on top of some kind of column or pillar. So I'm going to have the feet there attached to or holding onto the pillar. So that's something important. And then what's the pose going to be like? Well, maybe I want it to be fairly straight, and I can bend it like this, but then have the tail as a counterweight. Maybe the tail wraps around that pillar. So I'm keeping everything really loose at this point. And head's there. And I'm just kind of scribbling in where things go. So getting the legs in. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to someone who wouldn't know what these things are, but since I've shown you in the construction part of it, I hope that it's a bit more clear what these lines mean. So this is like the thigh, and it goes back in space, and then that's the foot, and diamond for the chest. And maybe I'll detail these later on, but for now I just want to get the pose. Now, one of the things with having a dragon with arms as the wings is that you don't get the option of using separate arms. So for instance, I couldn't just put the arms down here holding onto the pillar, but you do get an advantage, which is that because the wings are pretty much the hands of the dragon, you are allowed the freedom to use the wings more like hands themselves. So they can almost, interact with things that way. Okay. So I have my diamond, and maybe he's just, putting his arms out. I'm just gonna give myself some more space. Move this down, maybe shrink it. And he's just doing something like that. So these are just the gesture lines, and then after I'll, detail it, put where the shoulders are, and the other bones, and the wings and things. But that's enough for a gesture. Hope you can see that, but that's really how rough it is. So let's go ahead and do another one. And make my brush a bit bigger so you can see it better. Maybe I want to do like a stubby dragon. So same thing, I want to show off maybe like a fat quality. So I'm going to create a pose that has this kind of gesture to it. So this is kind of the spine, and then he's going to have a short tail. He'll have his legs. Everything's going to be short and squat, so he'll have his legs like this. Maybe his wings are coming, down and then up. So it's almost like he's folded back. But I have to remember that it's his shoulder, and then elbow, and then his hand, and then, so it's going to be like that. So maybe this is just a side view because I want to show off, how this is a more squat dragon, and maybe he's flying. So I'll have No, wait, that wouldn't make sense because of the way his arms are. All right, he'll be on a pillar too. All right, so let's give him that. And I'm going to give him a short neck instead of a really long neck like this. And I'm going to squish that diamond shape. And maybe you can see the other wing in the background popping out and his other leg. That's how I'd go about, you know, sketching in a quick pose. And maybe I'll show one where the head is turned. Now, I haven't really gone over this, but it is a bit more complicated when you want to turn the dragon's head. So from the side, it's simple. It's just, you know, we're working with that diamond. It's got the neck coming out like so. But once we turn it, we have to be able to imagine it in 3 dimensions. So I guess that's pretty advanced. It's not as simple. The way I like to do it is I'll always imagine things within a box. So let's say we have a box here. And we're going to fit the dragon's skull within that, or the dragon's head within that. So I want to find the midpoints of the box. And the way you do that is you just make an X by connecting each corner. And now I have, you know, the position of where the middle of the box is. And it probably would have been wise to put vanishing points back there, but for now this is okay. And now within that, and this is where it gets complicated, I have to imagine in this middle section, I have to imagine this diamond occupying this plane. So the middle of this plane is right here, and then this diamond is kind of done in such a way that if I put this in a rectangle and I found the middle, it would be around here, right? So it's behind this point where this point is. And you can precisely find out, you know, using X's to find out exactly where this is in relation to this box, but I'm not going to go that detailed. I'm just going to know that this point is roughly here compared to the middle. So the middle is here, so I'm going to put that point there, and I know it connects like this. So, okay, draw a line there. So now we have the dimensions of the dragon from the side view, and now we're going to build outwards. So I know in a front view the dragon's going to have a face that's a little bit like a triangle, and it gets wider near the eyes, and there'll be the nose area, and the eyes maybe here. And I'll get wide around where the jaw is, and then come down. So we want to create something that's like this shape, but here. So the jaw could be, well, we know the jaw is, if the eyes are around here, then the mouth is going to start around here. So that's here. And I really hope this isn't too complicated, but I think it probably is. So I might just keep this short and just fit the rest of the dragon within this box pretty quickly. Because this isn't really supposed to be a perspective tutorial, so within this you would find the dragon's head, and then you would erase your guides and you end up with something like this. But you probably could just, try and memorize these shapes as well, if it's too complicated. Just memorize how this goes like that and then like that. But the thing with doing it that way is you don't have the freedom to bend it any way you want. So if you want to get advanced, I would recommend, learning perspective and how to draw complex forms within perspective. But anyway, so that's that dragon head. I'm just going to take and shrink it and put a body on it. So what could this one be doing? Maybe this one's kind of crawling on the ground with its wings, or I just want it to be interacting with the ground a bit more. So I'm going to find a horizon and put down a vanishing point, get in a ground plane. And again, this is dependent on a knowledge of perspective. But putting in a ground plane like this isn't too difficult. You just find a horizon line, and if you're familiar with one-point perspective, which I won't really go over, then it shouldn't be too much trouble. But the reason I put the ground plane down is it really helps me to think of this in perspective, so that I'm thinking of a space, and the dragon's in a three-dimensional space. One of the things that's difficult, and right now I'm just drawing the diamond for the body. One of the things that's difficult when you draw is that you're looking at a flat piece of paper, but you want to take that and transform it into a three-dimensional space, or the illusion of a three-dimensional space. So putting this kind of perspective grid is immediately going to help you to see, that this is three-dimensional. And I'm going to push this shoulder forward, because if you remember from my how to draw interesting poses video, I talk about, breaking up symmetry and having things twisting and turning. So I'm going to just twist that and have the diamond shape. So the wings are going to come down, and keep having to adjust the position because I keep running out of room. But basically the wings will come down. So this is I'll do it this way again. Shoulder, elbow, hand. And maybe this one's coming forward towards us, even though his hand is back. So it goes back. So shoulder, elbow. And then here's the hand. Maybe the fingers, spread out towards us. And maybe this is happening in perspective. So I'm going to foreshorten this arm. And I'm going to treat it pretty much as if I was drawing a hand, first of all. So get where the knuckles go. Find the other knuckles. And bring it out further still. So here's, where the wings would be. It attaches back here, so this one gets pulled back there. You have the thumb. And then this is going to attach over this. And we have his body hidden behind that wing. And the hand, so it's coming at us. In space. And then I want to get the gesture back in, so I want his body to have like an S to it. So his legs are back here somewhere, maybe like that. And we wouldn't see this leg because it's hidden behind this wing. Yeah. I mean, I could change it. So I put the wing out like this, and then it would allow me to show that leg, and I think that's probably a better pose anyway. So you see this foot coming out. And you have this wing going back. Here's the elbow, fingers. That goes back, attaches here. He has his tail. Tail's gonna go back in space there. Find the center line. And yeah, I have a feeling this is getting way too complicated, so I'm probably gonna stop, because this isn't supposed to be a super advanced tutorial, and for this you need quite a bit of experience. But anyway, so that's another pose. If I was to simplify that pose, it would kind of look like that, an S, and there's a head, and the arms doing this, and then there's the legs going back like that. But now I guess I'll just work on this, and maybe I don't need to do it in time-lapse. Maybe I'll do one in time-lapse, but let's see how much I can do without time-lapse. I just don't want to get this video, super long. So for this dragon, the I'll just do the fat one maybe. Again, I want it to be short and stubby. So everything is short and stubby. So I squished it, but the same shapes are still there. The same bones are still there. So there's nothing different about the construction. It's just going to be the detail face. So I'm going to have his mouth kind of jutting out. So he has an underbite. And get where his eyes go. Maybe I'll give him more of a smile. He looks like a friendly dragon. So I'm not going to make him too fierce. And maybe I'll give him a tooth poking out. And now for the wings. I'm going to keep them a lot shorter than the other dragon's wings. And they're going to fold quite a lot like an accordion because they're all, you know, tucked. So I'll do that. And get the other wing back there. And I'm really thinking about the silhouette here. So just maintaining a good silhouette. And get his thumb in there as well. So give him a fat thumb, maybe some fat claws on the end of this. And his legs. And this is kind of like a human anatomy, so it's, I'll shorten that. So you don't have to worry too much. If you are familiar with your human anatomy, you should be okay. If not, it's something to, you know, brush up on. So put the other wing showing back there. And tail's gonna go behind this thing, whatever it is. And the other leg back there as well. So now we have a fat dragon and can add a few details. Maybe he's got little spots. And maybe I'll add some color to him. And he looks like he would be brightly colored, not like a dull color. So I'll give him maybe a green color and keep everything really bright. So I'm just gonna lay in green all over. And right now I'm using a brush and it's set to overlay mode. So it's going to change all these colors, and also it's going to alter the value slightly. And that just lets me put things in really quick, and I can change the value without having to get a different color. So it's just, convenient. It's one of the advantages of using a digital medium. But, you don't have to. You could probably do a lot of the same things with traditional. And really, this would just be like putting down a wash and then going over it. So if you're using watercolor, for example, you would put down the initial wash, and then as you lay color on top, it's going to get progressively darker. So I'm going to add in between part of the wings. And this is where overlay mode really shines, is, doing things like this. And I'm gonna make the bottom of his, pretty much the whole body, make the bottom of it a lighter color. And add some highlights. And some darks, because I added highlights, and now everything's kind of, in the mid-range, and I need to put in some darks to make things pop. And I'll just make his eye really stand out. And what else? Maybe I'll add a bit of orange to the wings. And those spots, yeah, should make them stand out a little bit too. So maybe I'll use different color. So I'm just putting in those spots. And probably color the base of this. I'm just going in normal mode and just going to give him an eye. at that little tooth. So there we go. It's our fat little dragon. And yeah, I think you get the idea, so I'm not going to go and do everything else in time-lapse. I think this is probably good enough to get the point across. So hope it helped, and good luck, and thanks for watching.